This episode of 5 Minutes to Learn is inspired by a recent conversation that I had with Dennis Ortiz on this show, looking for miracles versus preparing for the worst, and how preparing for the worst is a terrible way to think because you have to think of the worst and you actually have to think about how bad things could be, where if you would just think about how good things could be, they'd probably turn out a lot better. And also Chris Williamson. Chris Williamson's podcast is awesome. If you haven't heard of him, I know you've heard him. I know you've seen a reel that's come up in your feed talking to some really inspirational, famous person about something very inspirational. I'm going to read you a quote that he read on one of his previous episodes. It's from a man named Denzel Rust. I don't know Denzel, but this is really cool. What's the harshest truth every young man must eventually learn? Everyone is always rooting for you. Your parents want you to be a great son. Your wife wants you to be a great husband. Your boss wants you to be a slam dunk hire. Every first date you've ever been on, they've been rooting for you to get laid. Every time you started to tell a joke, people hoped it would have a hilarious punchline. Your proximity to anyone is a reflection of themselves, meaning the deck is never stacked against you, and your failures are completely your own. I think every young man needs to hear that. Every young woman needs to hear that. Every young business owner, every person starting their first nonprofit needs to hear that. Because often when we're in these things where we don't know who's paying attention, we don't know who cares, and a lot of our supporters don't comment, don't share, don't like things, it can feel very isolating. And I thought about that recently, talking to Dennis and hearing this quote. Scary situation. It just came up in my feed. I guess God felt like I needed to hear it. But I thought about how since 2023 and I got laid off, everyone has been rooting for me. Everyone was rooting for me, for my business to be successful, for this podcast to be consistent, for my wife and I to dig ourselves out of, and with the help of God and others, get out of this below rock bottom situation we were in. My kids were rooting for me. Whoever my future employer was going to be, which I'm glad to say I'm employed now, they were hoping that I would join their organization. Everybody was wanting me to basically have a good comeback story. And I think everybody truly does want that for me in my life. And if you're listening to this, odds are I know you, and I'm rooting for you as well. I'd encourage you to think about not who has ignored you or who you thought would be there for you and ended up not being there for you, but the people who are there for you, the people who continue to root for you, the people who continue to think, man, I'm proud of that guy for starting that business. I'm proud of that person for getting that promotion. I saw that LinkedIn announcement about their new certification. I'm proud of them. I'm stoked for them. Wow, they joined that new company. I hope it goes well there. I think we all in this independent creator space need to think more like that. And if you don't do any of those things, if you're not starting something for yourself, or you're not a creator, or you're not writing music or whatever else, I'm talking to you too. I'm rooting for you, and whatever you're doing, whatever you're pursuing, whatever your dreams are, I want you to succeed. So often we think that because we don't hear anything, that automatically means people aren't rooting for us. The reality is, I think most people are rooting for us and we don't know about it. But looking for it, we find it. At the tournament this last weekend, the Fuji Jiu-Jitsu tournament, I was walking around. Some guy I'd never met before came up to me and said, "Hey, aren't you that guy from that podcast, Kansas City, whatever?" I finished the sentence for him, Kansas City Business Cast. "Yeah, I interview some of the guys that are training here, all this stuff. Man, great work. Good job." Came out of nowhere. I was pumped about that. I was like, man, people notice. People notice what we're doing here. So this is a 5 minutes to learn episode, usually a quick format. To be honest, this is my third take of this episode. It was supposed to be a longer solo episode, but technical difficulties kind of threw a wrench in that. And so I'm making the best for it. And I know this is going to reach somebody. So if you're listening, I appreciate you. I know you're rooting for me. I'm rooting for you as well. Thank you so much for continuing to tap in. We'll see you next time. And I'll try to keep this as inspirational as it can possibly be. The miracles are there. We just got to look for them. Thank you.